call this meeting to order. Let's stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter? Ms. Nywer?
Here.
Mr. Scott?
Here.
Ms. Bradley?
Here.
Mr. Rice?
Here.
Colonel Taylor?
Okay. Do we have any special business?
Well, I mean,
recognition?
we kind of rolls into number 5, but we have our strategic plan, as you remember, a little over, I think it's been over a year ago. We voted to, you guys voted to start a strategic plan, and we hired the team from the K-20, which in OSSBA combination, which is Miss Sharon Dean and Miss Tracy Felon and Stephanie Hyder, who's with OSSBA. The other two are with the K-20 Center to facilitate the plan. There's a few of the people in this room who work really hard. The hours and time that our staff members put in to develop this plan are incredible. I went by there a few times. I will say from the superintendent's side, Sharon and I have done this before together, and we had a few meetings, and we discussed it. And for it to work, it had to come from these people. If it came from me, it would just be another administrative top-down, push-down. For it to work, they had to develop a plan. And these people, I mean, every time they leave, Sharon's called me and said, "You don't know how lucky you are." I said, "I do. I know how good those people are." She called me the next time. "You don't know how great your people are and how hard they work." I said, "I know how good they are, Sharon." And so a big shout out to all the people. It was more than this. There were 35 in the one group plus the principal, so 60 or so people that have had numerous meetings on this. And then with the strategic plan, Sharon and I had a conversation about, okay, how do we merge it back with the board office? How do we get it where now I got to sell it to the district leadership, because the district leadership had zero to do with it. There was not one shoemaker person involved in the creation of the plan. So Sharon and I came up with a plan. Each goal area would come meet with me, and we blocked off 2 hours in a day, and I sat and it was so awesome to sit and talk to the people involved in that, because they had worked so hard, and the plan it was just, I was really appreciative of all the work, and just to get to facilitate that back. So again, a big hand to all of you guys that really helped with this. I'll say this, a lot of the principals were involved. They would leave their buildings, and I've said this forever, once you hit administrative in school, there's one thing for sure, when you leave your building, that work just piles up. And it's no different than a classroom teacher. To leave for the day, they got to do 4 hours of planning to leave their sub a plan. Right. So this was double the work for some of these people. So again, a big shout out to them. So I believe at this time with it, Sharon Dean will present the plan and talk a lot about the workings of it, and anybody else in questions, and then we can have some more discussion on it. Yes, you can. There's a microphone there so you can be on TV.
Oh, great. Would anyone, those of you that work on planning, we'll take care of you later, but you guys like one? Okay. As Kevin said, and I'm going to repeat, if you know me, I do not hand out compliments easily. So when I would have those conversations, and Tracy and Stephanie and I, those were truly from the heart. Your district was so easy to work with, and these people are so phenomenal. They have the best interest of your kids in mind, and yes, they had to work hard when they were with us, and we know they had to work hard to be gone. So let's give them another round of applause. And your work is just beginning. That was the easy part. But yeah, it'll go forward. So I want to share with you what you have in front of you, and kind of give you a little bit of the history. When you turn on page 5, you can see the strategic planning team members. And I was just telling Mr. James and Mr. Heim, they did not want to pick the team members. They truly wanted this to be very democratic. So Tracy and Stephanie and I going, what are we going to do? We'll have a draft. We'll just have a draft. So we wanted equal numbers of administrators, parents, teachers, community members, and then we had 6 students, 2 from each high school. And so in this draft, we had your principals present, and they would draw out of the pad or bubble or whatever we had. And we had, you know, X number of administrators, X number of teachers. And so then whatever they drafted, they went back to their school and they provided a team member. So if it said administrator, they either were the administrator or they had an assistant principal. If it said parents, they get parents. And all the time we're going, you know, what's it going to be? You know, they're not handpicked, they're drafted. But they really were handpicked by the principals who did a phenomenal job. So when you look at these people, they volunteered their time, and we'll talk just a minute, I'll show you the amount of time. So kudos go out again to your principals for all the time and effort and energy they put into selecting that committee. On page 6 is just a demographic kind of profile of your district. Page 7 is an executive summary of the plan. Page 8 and 9, and you can see we listed the meetings. We started out with phase 1 engage, and Mr. Hine was trying to beat himself when he was at Clinton, when he came down here, about the number of meetings that we had with the community. We bragged on him in Clinton, and he, again, outdid himself here, trying to beat himself. That we went to your community with actual face-to-face forums and getting feedback anonymously through an intermediary from your community members. Then we had an online survey, and then I'll show you the results of that in just a minute. Then on phase 2 and 3, the plan kicked in with those team members, and you can see the amount of time they put in there. And then on phase 4, which is tomorrow, and that really is kind of where the rubber meets the road, that we're going to be working with your goal area teams in the morning, and then tomorrow afternoon and all day on Wednesday, we're working with principals leadership team. So they're bringing that, and they're going to develop a year 1 implementation plan for your strategic plan. If you'll look on page 11, this is kind of very foundational for the development of your plan. This was the results, the themed and coded information that we gleaned from your community about what they expected of your learners, so projecting to the future, what do you expect of your learners when they graduate 10 years from now? What are your core beliefs about your school district, and what are your core values? So when you look at these, let me first say that they are prioritized. So the first dot under each one is what your community felt was most important. So when we actually got to strategic planning, you get another kudo. Joan Gableman was our resource for getting our data together, and she gathered student achievement data, she gathered some perception data, she gathered demographic data, she gathered process data, and so we had a book about yay thick. And that's when they all hated us, those 2 days. And that book had the good, the bad, the ugly about your school district. And then we had what your community's values, beliefs, and expectations were. So based upon those 2 things, this great committee decided what we needed to focus on for your district. And so when we open and look on page 12, they decided that we needed to focus on 4 big goal areas. And those goal areas were student achievement, that's why we're here, your culture and your climate, personnel, and your resources. And then, so these are our big areas. Then what do we want to accomplish in each of those goal areas? And you can see that there's 2 or 3 objectives for each goal area, which is totally doable because we worked a lot with the committee about narrowing your focus. You don't want to get your plan so broad that it's overwhelming and you can't get anything accomplished. And so what you have on, on page 12 is a result of the data analysis and then the result of your community input. Those should never change throughout your 5-year plan because it is based on data and it's based on your community input. So those goal areas and those objectives. And then they had some other discussions and they came up with, well, how are we going to accomplish those objectives and what's that going to look like? those vary, and they're gonna probably change somewhat to some degree every year based upon analyzing where your district is. And then the other thing is they have decided some performance measures based upon their data. So where do they want your students to be, your third grade students to be in reading in 5 years? So academic, where do we want our culture and climate to be in 5 years? So they have that 5th-year benchmark, and then they have benchmarks along the way. And as we work with school districts, those are ever evolving, and they should be. They're fluid. The only thing that's not fluid is what you see on page 12. Tomorrow we will be working in the morning with your goal area teams, and like I said, tomorrow afternoon and the next day with your site level teams, and they're going to develop what's our year one plan. And then we'll be back in a year from now, and we'll do a reflection and kind of see where your district is, and then we'll make some adjustments as needed, and we'll celebrate the successes that have happened over the last school year. And so other than that, did I leave anything out, girls? Anything out, committee?
One thing I'll say is, when I was at Clinton, and we'll do the same thing here, is we brought them back year 2 and year 3 to reevaluate and to evaluate us as district leaders to make sure we were working the plan. Because the worst thing you do in our business is, anybody that's been in education, we used to do North Central all the time, but we create these, and they're gonna get in their car in a few days and leave and go work with somebody else. We take this little book, we just set it back here on a shelf, and all you guys in education know, and they're gonna make sure we don't, it's my job to make sure we don't do it, but she's gonna have us accountable. She'll come back and meet with us. She'll come back and wanna have a report to the board of what she saw, what's working, what's not working. So that's another exception to this strategic plan that I really like. That
Talk a little bit about how you're going to do that accountability with the board.
well, and then the other thing we'll do is, so just to make it kind of work, so tomorrow they'll start working with because you've got 27 different sites that are going to be involved with a lot of principals. They're going to start building their teams to enact the plan at their site level. We'll build site level, we'll appoint district level leaders from our executive directors. That'll also be that facilitator and that go to the meet that makes sure we're smooth. And then the ultimate goal will be, there's 4 goal areas, and once a month, the chair to that goal area, or even the people from some of the different sites, they'll come meet with you, and like we do principals with a report, they'll have a 5 or 10 minute report as well to add once a month to the board meeting. So every month you'll get a report from one of the goals. So that's 3 times a year. We should get a report in the board meeting on each of these goal areas, what we're doing, what's working, what's not working, what's the action plan doing? Because again, like the thing I learned the most and I appreciate so much is page 12 doesn't change. That's set. That's whatever we set those goals and those sub areas, and these people worked hard to set them. The action plans, although you want to stay somewhat in them, they'll vary a little bit because MacArthur may not have to have the same action plan as Eisenhower, or right. Freedom doesn't need the same thing as Lincoln. There's going to be some different looks in how they accomplish that goal at their site. So very excited about that.
And when he said he's not going to put it on the shelf, we're not going to let him put it on the shelf. We have worked with 21 school districts, and all but one is currently working their plan. Different levels, but it's not on the shelf.
And you're 5 at Clinton, and they're still working the plan.
Yes. Yes.
I mean,
even with the new administrator.
Yeah, and that's the setup. That's how you've got to set it up, where the plan becomes what we want to work upon, because it gives us a common goal. And the difference this brings for me is, a lot of times people are like, well, there's no collaboration. That's you're the superintendent. These goal areas didn't come from me, and that's why I stayed out of it. That's why I was almost, the only thing I've done in this plan is allowed those teams to present to me what they were doing, just so they knew that was more to let them make sure they knew I appreciated all the work they've done on that. And she sat in the room. It was very, I don't know that I might have changed a word or two, but as far as we agreed to do everything that they put before me.
You know what I think? I think we need, they really looked at what hard to go wrong. Do you guys have any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Y'all have- go- Somebody else go.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you mentioned the, thank you for sharing this. This is very exciting, I know. And you mentioned the more or less location-specific type details. Site level, yes. And then also kind of some ideas for metrics and measurables for the 5-year period. Will that be aggregated into some type of master document then that's updated? Is that how that works? Is that then shared back with the board, or how do?
Yes, yeah, that'll be a public document, yes.
Okay.
When they get everything, because before you get it, all those aggregate numbers, you get this approved, they get to do it, and then let them start working on their action steps. And then that's where the whole, let's let everybody tweak their site level in different, before we put, because what I don't want to do is put one set of action steps and then try to expect all of them to carry out those action steps, because all their cultures are different, their demographics are different, their test scores are different. What they need to work on is going to be different. So, but that's correct. There should be one, basically, there should be one for each site when it's done. It should be on their webpage. Each site should be on their webpage, because the plan should be on everybody's webpage. I mean, we made posters of it. We posted it everywhere of the 4 goal areas to make sure, everyone knew. We put this size one up in every classroom, so everyone knew in the district level that this was created by the district, by the community. This is the plan. This is what we're working toward.
Lynn, you already, didn't you?
We have something we're gonna have the bigger one when school
Yeah.
starts.
Of the,
The goal,
The goal areas, yeah. Tracy and I were in Alva a year ago, and it was, because of COVID, it was their second or third year, I think, into the plan, and we walked in the middle school, and, oh my gosh, they had them all posted, and they're doing great in implementing their plan, because it's out there in front of them all the time.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, but I would like to thank all of the planning team members for all the hard work that y'all have put towards this to try to help Lawton Public Schools move forward.
And the principals.
Yes, and principals.
Patty was one of them.
I was one of the volunteers.
Patty was the board representative.
Yeah, and I've been, in my 20 whatever years as a board member, I've been on a lot of committees and done a lot of, come and let's talk about this, as these guys have too. But that was the most serious, dedicated group that I've ever worked with. And I was so proud of them. I mean, I tried to keep my mouth shut because I didn't want to influence anything they did, but I listened a lot. And I want to tell you, Mark is, you still chair a Jet Force? The chamber has a group called Jet Force, and which their goal was to do some strategic planning for education in Lawton. And we said, well, just so happens. So we're going to share this with our committee at the chamber and do the updates and things. But they're real excited that we've moved this far along.
Well, Krista came, I think.
Krista came as much as she could, yeah. She's a pretty busy lady, but anyway, they're still very interested and excited, and we'll meet with the, I don't know if you ever want to meet with the community again, but we can certainly.
Well, thank you for those positive comments. I mean, that's kind of where it all began.
Yeah.
And I think too, I hope they had as much fun working with us as we had working.
They
with
were
them.
having some fun.
Yeah, it wasn't boring, was it?
No, it wasn't boring. Really good, and such a good mix. We had students, the students were very engaged. I was impressed with the students in our group.
They're pretty honest.
Yes, they were.
So your plan now is to take these goals and objectives and put down on paper how we are going to work to achieve those
What are we going to do to
things.
make this happen? And like Mr. Hunt said, what it's going to look like at a high school is probably not going to be what it's
Right,
like
I
at a
get
school
that.
at a-
Can't be.
Because you don't want to go in and totally say, well, our thing is you don't throw the baby out the bathwater. So how do these, and they're pretty broad objectives.
Right.
They're pretty broad objectives, which we were real pleased that that's what they came up with. But again, it wasn't, I think, or I'd like, it's, where's the data?
That's great. Using the data, I think, is really important.
Well, and we need to thank Lynn and her crew too, because the logistics of every meeting, and Skyla, yeah. I mean, we had food there, so we could keep working. It was eat at your table kind of day, but I mean, they had
Like
device,
tag?
yeah, well, they had the devices there ready for us if we needed a laptop. I mean, it was, thank you, guys. Yeah, AJ and your group, you were awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up.
On goal 4, objective 2, no, yeah. Improve student programs, like what are some of the student programs that you're in, referring to?
One of the main things that we heard, and I know this was presented to Mr. Hahn from that group, and he's already thinking about that, is it was their advisory program that they really had some questions about how that was working and what can we do to improve it.
Counseling, yeah.
That was the main thing, was that particular program.
So you're talking about secondary in that
That's secondary.
situation?
Mhm.
Yes, okay.
But again, you can see that's still so broad that if I'm
Sure.
struggling with opportunities to have some specific programs for my students in elementary school, I can do that.
But we've included, just to bring in my discussions with them and some of the people I work with, we're gonna ensure the counseling period next year that we're using the social and emotional learning, Hope Rising curriculum in that counseling period, that we're gonna have our makerspace.
That's that new program that she came and talked about,
Yes,
right?
and the
Yes.
makerspace that we're doing, the programs for elementary, and we continue to do that. And we continue to try to expand art and GT and music in the elementaries, that's all. I mean, so it does have some elementary to it too, but it originated because with the pandemic and everybody getting to eat free, we put that breakfast break in, which became an advisory period to do some things, and just how that was implemented really went fast, and just how do we make that a better time and make sure we're getting every minute of value out of that time and it's not wasted
Well,
time.
I think too, what we found out, it was talking about informing people who did not know, why are we doing this?
Yes.
So it was a communication, there were some communication issues too.
One of my biggest concerns going into this, and even today, not as much today, was climate. And I will look forward to what you all come up with to work in that area.
I think they're pretty creative, and they're, again, these things don't change, but how we approach them could.
Right.
But they've got some surveys, some baseline surveys of, for climate that I think they plan on repeating.
Okay.
Yeah, did you mention too, these teams are gonna continue to meet. It's like a 5-year commitment, guys.
Yeah. definitely.
They're going, oh, no.
Well, I appreciate all the work that went into this from all of you. I think I'm excited about it.
It is, it's a very doable plan, especially with your resources that you have, your human resources that you have.
Right.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the strategic goals.
Call the roll.
Ms. Claufelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. Rice?
Yes.
That's all of my report. That was my time
That's
reserved
all
for
of
them
it?
tonight, make sure they had all they
Okay.
needed. So we're to the consent agenda.
Yeah, we're ready for the consent agenda. Does anybody need anything pulled from that?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Okay. Get her done.
Call the roll.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Claufelter?
Yes.
Mr. Rice?
Yes.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
And then on the superintendent's report, we don't need the executive session. We did
Right.
include personnel reports A and B, and we also included a report for public record of the reassignments, trying to get, because people move around at the district level to make sure you guys saw. I've kind of been sending you emails as we go about who's moving where, but I wanted.
easier to have it in the
I wanted it on one page for you, and it may change before school starts, and we'll update it as school starts, but that was what that report was for.
But our new assistants weren't listed on there?
New assistant.
So,
That young man we met?
Oh, I thought they were on there.
I don't think all of them were.
Okay.
Completely.
Well, we'll update it and
Okay.
keep sending it to
Great.
you.
I am pleased with some of those people that we're looking at, and if, gonna have that job. I'm excited about that. Okay, where are we?
11A.
11.
No,
We gotta do the personnel report.
that's 11A.
Okay. Okay, on the personnel report,
Move for approval. A and B?
Ms. Claude
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth,
Yes.
Ms. Bradley,
yes.
Mr. Rice.
Yes.
Any new business?
No, ma'am.
Our next board meeting, June 23rd, a month from today at 5:15. Do we need any, meeting date set?
I'm on vacation.
Huh?
I'm going on vacation.
Kevin's
So
going
y'all
on
meet with that one?
vacation, so y'all just take the week off. Just teasing, just teasing. So anyway, okay, if there's nothing else, then we will.
I'd like to say, we had some great graduations, and I was really proud of the group I got to help, two on Thursday. But, everything seemed to go really well.
Good.
Appreciate the way it went.
Big crowds, packed
Big
houses
crowds.
every graduation.
That's good.
Middle schools were packed too.
That's the way it ought to be. Okay, anything else? We're adjourned.